my name is Justin Reed with Beechcliff Technologies. Thank you all for attending this session. Hello, my name is Justin Reed with Beechcliff Technologies. Thank you all for attending this session today. We're going to talk about building better support, the power of a thoughtful website for Ohio disability providers. I do apologize for not being able to attend in person. I had something come up last minute. I'm recording this Wednesday night and it's going to be one cut. So hopefully this comes across okay. If there are any questions or clarifications, I'm happy to answer questions via email. At the very end, I do include my contact information. And really this presentation is packed with tons of value that you'll be able to take back to your organizations and start implementing even some things as quickly as today. A lot of things can be done fairly low cost or with just some thoughtful planning around kind of building a website that really hits it home for the folks who need to view your content. And we're going to talk about some of those different types of people who need to view your content. So I've mentioned I'm Justin Reed. I've started Beechcliff Technologies about 10 years ago, but my background in software development starts way before that. I had a computer before they had computers in schools. I was building websites before college, and after college worked for some large companies like JP Chase, McGraw-Hill, Nationwide Insurance. I grew up in Columbus, and really kind of through that process, a lot of folks came up to me and said, Justin, you had a code, could you build me a website? And that just kind of snowballed to where I'm like, I'm doing quite a few of these. I probably should register a real business out of it. And doing that kind of led to the next step of, well, there's demand and you have to hire employees and learning how to do that. So now there's a great team. We're a global team that adds value round the clock, around the globe. And we do have a great niche and a lot of great clients who we just adore and love and that we're excited to work with. So Beechcliff Technologies, we do specialize in websites. We also do custom software development as well as integrations and automations, so things that you don't like clicking the same button on the computer more than once. We do that stuff too, just to reduce friction when using a computer. So we're going to talk second about the importance of a thoughtful website. And really kind of what are all of the components and pieces that go into it. There's a lot more than just the design, or there's a lot more than just the functionality. There's more than the SEO, the accessibility, regulatory concerns, funding, and how do you pay for all this stuff and get it all done. We're going to dive into all of that. So sit back and kind of enjoy listening through that, and I think you've got to get some good nuggets from it. Make sure you're ready to take some notes. We're going to talk through some specific examples and use cases of some success stories of like very specific things within those success stories and why they were successful. So we're going to talk about a couple of different companies. We'll keep the names anonymous, but how they were able to drive a lot of value from specific solutions, not necessarily doing the whole thing at once, but just a few specific things within what we're going to talk about. We'll go through that in detail in just a moment. We're going to talk about overcoming obstacles for Ohio providers. So we're going to go into some really kind of fun examples of things that really providers are really a unique industry that not every website is the same, not every industry is the same, and we're going to talk about some of the specific issues for how a website can solve problems from like employment and getting around regulatory problems, like in a legal and compliant way that isn't going to break the bank. And we're going to talk about next steps and actions that you can take starting today, or when you get back to the office, you can relay it to your team, your marketing managers, your marketing directors. We work very closely with those individuals as well. And just a quote that I wanted to kind of end the agenda slide with. Your website is more than just a digital brochure. It's a lifeline to the people you serve and a bridge to the community you belong to. A powerful tool for building a future for all. Just really hits me really close because of just my background and a few, how websites are more than just a digital brochure. They are really a website that's thoughtful and compelling, a website that tells your story in the right way. People are going to just get it before they even come to your site, before they even pick up the phone. It's your chance to make a first impression. and doing it in a way that's not cluttered, but it really communicates the right message. We're going to dive into that. So without further ado, I want to talk about the importance of a thoughtful website. So I kind of mentioned it a little bit ago. Your website is really your gateway to the world for individuals with developmental disabilities. It's an opportunity to showcase your services, success stories, and impact. People do that with blogs, video, having a really rich splash screen, the hero image, that banner at the top, really making that draw people in, having some clear call to actions and not cluttering things up. So people know within the first 3 seconds, really, of visiting your website, they know exactly, they know they're in the right spot, and they know what action you want them to take, and then they're drawn in by the imagery, the content. A picture is worth 1,000 words. Videos are worth even more. So we're going to also go into building a website that meets your needs and how we do customization to tailor your online presence. A lot of that can be done yourselves. Of course, we offer services as well that can help you with that. But really, the focus of this presentation is really to kind of empower you to be able to do those things and know what tools do you have in your tool belt to execute on and to get things done at your pace and at your cost. We're going to go into engaging your audience about building your online presence. So think about the compelling content and visuals that really resonate with your audience. A big mistake that we see a lot of people make is using too much stock photography. It's very easy to come by. You can find free images on Google, although I don't recommend using those. A lot of them do require licenses to use those. But there are even free websites like pexels.com. Canva has a great resource for plugging in free stock photography, but that's not going to draw people into your environment. So, I shoot a lot of my photography, honestly, with my iPhone. iPhones have great cameras on them, and you can tell an amazing story with that. You do it in the right way with the right microphone, with the right the lens and the framing. Having a professional or a marketing manager, marketing director who is proficient in being able to have like that keen eye, the photography eye, to know what looks good and to be able to match that image with the content on the page. People are going to see the content before they see the text, and a lot of people, they do the opposite. They focus on cramming a bunch of words on a page, but really a simple picture or a simple video conveys a much stronger message than the words. So we're going to build meaningful connections through those types of features, as well as other interactive features as well. So continuing into understanding the power of a thoughtful website, really accessible information and resources for individuals with development disabilities is how the website is perceived by the world. So you want to have those little widgets that allow you to change the font size very easily. You want to be able to have it lay out really simply for a mobile responsive design. So I don't know when the last time you pulled up your website on your phone, maybe pull out your neighbor's phone and see if it looks the same on their phone. And then of course there's all of the different types of phones. There's great tools that'll provide at the end that allow you to test hundreds of different combinations of browsers on different phones, tablets, desktops, laptops, all at once. These tools are relatively inexpensive. A lot of them are free and can really show you what your website looks like to all of these different people using your phones, especially when the access to technology is maybe a little different. People using older devices in a lot of cases, they don't look the same as on like a brand new iPhone 14, right? So you're really needing to take that into account, that all of these different form factors and screen sizes can easily be accounted for, but it's just important to be thoughtful of building content around those different devices so that it has the right message. And then also connecting, informing, and inspiring through your website. And you can do that simply by communicating your organization's mission, vision, values, and impact. Have it front and center. Maybe you want your call to action to be in that hero image at the very top to be a little different, but it should be a quick, fast follow, or at least an area where somebody can quickly find out what you're all about. Like I said, in the first 3 seconds of somebody visiting your website, they want to know, am I in the right place? And part of that is seeing those values, seeing that mission, seeing that vision. If it's not front and center, very close to the top so that they see it very quickly. And another piece of the 3 seconds, if a website takes longer than 3 seconds to load, that's where the kind of the threshold starts to drop off of people who aren't willing to wait. They hit the back button to go to that next search result in Google or wherever they found your website from. People who haven't been there before, first-time visitors, their attention span ends up being a lot less, we find, based on data from Google Analytics. And then, of course, empowering individuals with developmental disabilities specifically and providing that platform for self-expression, advocacy, and empowerment. It can be done a lot of different ways. Some folks like to be in the public eye and some like to be in the private eye. So having a website that has a login area that's secure, that has the right privacy policy in place that protects the individuals who are accessing the website. And of course, fostering that independence, productivity, and integration through digital support, which was part of that enriching lives through the digital presence. Specifically, some of the challenges that are faced by a lot of folks in this industry, it's limited resources and shifting regulations. A lot of folks are reluctant to spend a lot of money and a lot of investment when regulatory and compliance are changing. And we see that in Ohio quite frequently. But you can definitely get ahead of those things. And one of the tools to do that is having that login area that I mentioned. There's different requirements if you have a part of your website that is accessible only to logged in individuals versus things that are publicly accessible. And your privacy policy should clearly spell that out. But having a login area, and then having that login area be able to say certain roles are able to see different things. Maybe you want your providers to have access to the latest code and documentation and resources, forms to fill out. But you want your clients and your patients to have a different experience that helps them to learn and grow. And a third popular role that we see is for families of those clients, and being able to have them get the access to be able to stay up to date, whether it's with an internal type of a social media platform. If you're using WordPress, a popular example is a tool called BuddyPress. It's a plugin. It's very easy to set up. It's free. And it allows a social media type of a closed environment, because there's a lot of sensitivity to things being on the open wide web. But every situation is a little different and should be consulted with. And we can, of course, help direct you to any specific answers to questions that you may have. But just know that there are solutions to these problems, and typically one solution ends up having one solution ends up having multiple uses of that solution, like the login use case as an example. And continuing through unlocking the benefits of a thoughtful website, really enhancing communication with stakeholders, huge use case, and it's often missed because the funding that comes from a website, it's more than just having a donate button, or more than just board meetings and having those face-to-face meetings, but really your website being that more than a digital brochure, but really conveying the message of what your organization's services and programs are, making sure it's clearly spelled out, having those rich visual elements that people know exactly what they're going to see, and using images that really convey what you're all about. If you were looking to convey more of a close, tight-knit niche organization, or if you're looking to be more of a high-end boutique organization, imagery can convey all ends of the spectrum, including others, with just a few images that you get. Either you could use stock photography, but like I said, I would definitely recommend using some thoughtful images of your location wherever you can. And then, of course, these can facilitate a two-way conversation and feedback from individuals and families, not just stakeholders. So having those forms on your website where people can reach out to you, having not just a single contact form. We see a lot of folks, they want to have just a contact form in the footer. Like, well, they've got a contact form, they're covered. Well, yes and no. Every contact form should really have a specific purpose. And if you have one that's on stakeholders for board members, they probably care more about some specific, maybe some metrics, maybe about organization growth. Maybe they want to know more about the population or the demographics or your location or locations. What are your growth plans and your strategy? And you can tailor the questions in that contact form to those things. And you can get ahead of that stakeholder sending you that note by just asking them some additional questions when you pick up the phone or when they call you, that you're ready for whatever additional things that specific individual has. And you can easily see that individuals and families interested in services are going to have different questions as well. So making sure that those questions are all accounted for in the forms, it makes it more personal. People are more likely to fill out forms if they are more personal, but you're also able to collect more intelligence about the person submitting the form than if it was just a generic contact form. So definitely spend some time on that. Streamlining processes and saving time. A website, really, every time somebody visits your website, you're saving that time of somebody instead maybe picking up the phone and calling somebody. You're saving the time of the individual in your location actually talking to somebody. And there's certainly a time and a place and a need for picking up the phone and having a personal conversation. But when a lot of things can be addressed online with automation, and then the call to action can be to take a phone call after they have all of the necessary information, you're going to reduce that call time of somebody who needed to make the call from being maybe 15 minutes down to 5 minutes or even less. There's going to be less clarifying things that person is going to have to speak to on the other end of the phone. It's going to reduce your call times. It's going to reduce the need for additional overhead of staff, or allow those staff members to be able to focus on patient care instead of talking to people on the phone where they're distracted or they can't give the time to the care that they would like to. So having your website thought out and designed in a way that enables that is huge. And really, when we talk about that as a solution, think about how's the hierarchy of your website. So the specific menu items, are they clear? Are they concise? Or do you have maybe between 3 and 5? If you get close to 7, it gets to be too much. And can maybe those menu items go into a sub-menu? Certainly for some reasons, you may have like an additional button or a call to action with your menu. And those are different edge cases that we'd be happy to help with and talk through. But a lot of folks end up having too many menu items and not having things nested appropriately. So having all of those things in a spot where it's going to save the user time as well, so they can find the information quickly, but also that the information that they have prepares them. If they need to make a phone call, they keep the phone call shorter and more concise to save time. It's going to also, with streamlining processes and saving time, automating intake forms. So a lot of things online, I mentioned that we do integrations as well. Integrations are huge right now, and people wanting to save time with not having to do the manual data entry. A lot of health record systems have APIs that can be integrated with to have that happen automatically. But even if that's a step that people don't want to take, you can still automate website forms to save things to that local database. You have a backup and a copy, and then also email that form to all of the stakeholders and the people who care to get that form submission within your location so that they can respond appropriately. Of course, having it in more of a CRM or a health record management system is going to enable more a thorough log and history of what's been happening. So that's super important. Definitely think about automation and what's right for you, depending on how many people you have reviewing those emails and how much time is spent. Website can really speed that up and get you to the right solution to increase efficiency, and really that saves time. Of course, streamlining those processes also will help to automate those administrative tasks as well. Showcasing success stories and having an impact is also a website will unlock the benefits of sharing inspiring stories of those individuals who are making progress and achievements. They're really those inspiring stories that we all have. people need to hear about those. Those are really drivers that folks want to be able to feel like they're going to be taken care of, that they're in the right place. So having those showcased in the right way, whether it's on your blog or through tags, that's huge. And demonstrating the transformative outcomes as part of that work is super important as well. I'm going to speed up a little bit. Designing a website that's tailored to meet your needs, really driving personalization for a unique online presence, tailoring your website design, content, and layout with your brand identity, as well as incorporating elements that resonate with your target audience, help with that personalization. Of course, reflecting your organizational mission and values that we talked about, but going a level deeper, is conveying those values and commitment to supporting individuals with developmental disabilities, and aligning that website content and messaging with your mission statement. Everything should be a tie back to those common themes of your mission, of your values, and doing it in a concise way. And then, of course, customizing those features of your website to meet your specific requirements. That's going to be things like integrating functionality for your online registrations, events, program enrollment, donation processing, and all of the different things that you do to manage the members, the constituents, the families, everybody who interacts with your website, being able to service them in a way that helps. We do a lot of this with heat mapping, heat tracking tools like Mouseflow or Hotjar. Hotjar is more of a premium option. Mouseflow has a great free option that lets you see where folks are clicking on your website, and being able to create personas for those individuals, because a lot of people don't know when somebody comes to their website, are they getting to the information that they need? And you can easily identify that by having some click mapping software. What that allows you to do is it literally shows you a picture of your website, and every user session, it shows that they clicked here, and they moved their mouse over here, and they clicked over here. It shows if they're erratically going back and forth or scrolling a lot. I recommend everybody have the right data and analytics on their website for tracking those types of things. Google Analytics is a great start. Mouseflow is a great free option. Like I said, Hotjar is a great option as well. And I'll include those in the resources and notes at the end. The other thing for data is everybody looks to rank, well, not everybody, most people look to rank fairly high in Google, or at least have control over their rankings in Google. Some people want certain content to rank higher, and some just not to rank at all. And really understanding where that is. Google Webmaster Tools, or Google Search Console as it's called now, is a great resource to link your website to get the data of what are the exact search terms people are searching for, where do you rank for each one of those search terms, and being able to see like what's the growth of your website or decline of your website for different search terms over time, locally and globally. Continuing to engaging your audience and fostering connections. Really, this is all about engaging your audience for impact, creating that compelling content that resonates. And what we do is we help a lot of people with crafting those impactful, informative messages that speak directly to the needs and aspirations of individuals with developmental disabilities. Some folks when they have writer's block, they go online and they find inspiring pieces of content to kind of help with that. You can always pull from maybe some other individuals in the industry, but some of the up-and-coming chat bots out there are becoming phenomenal. If you've heard of ChatGPT, have tried that out. Phenomenal at being able to create unique, personalized content. Then you can ask it to make it shorter, more concise, more compelling. You could have it write it in the viewpoint of the different personas you're targeting, and really being able to create that compelling content is huge. But really what's more important than that content are the multimedia capabilities and the visuals that tell your organization's story. And you can also do this with the same types of things, like using Canva, using these open source image finders. You can type in what are images that resonate with. They say here I have a keyboard, a Braille keyboard. For how do you tell that story of being able to make the connection for individuals? And I'll be honest, so this particular image, the reason I picked it is because I was able to do some of that research very quickly and found an image that kind of resonated with uh, creating content. So you feel like it kind of bridges the gap of keyboards create content. This image is going to resonate and kind of help to tell the story of creating content. And then there are a lot of ChatGPT and a lot of those other chatbots can help with even image identification as well. And if there are any questions on how to do that, happy to answer any questions after the end. You can reach out to me and I can go into any specific answers. And I really love this topic and can go deeper if you're looking for any help with the content creation or utilizing those engaging multimedia elements that really create the immersive experience. Then using those visuals to convey the emotions, the experiences, and the positive impact of your organization's work. Because at the end of the day, you want people to be able to, when they leave your website, really have a clear image of what your organization does. And of course, your website wouldn't be complete without encouraging user participation and feedback. It's typically done with call to action buttons. Not a ton of them, but just a few to get them to continue to the next step of what you want them to do. So right at the beginning, when somebody lands on your website, they want to know, am I in the right place? So nailing your personas right away, probably in your menu. They'll know if the website speaks to them, they see a persona for families of individuals with developmental disabilities, and they're going to see that menu link and know exactly where to go. They're in the right spot. Or they're going to see that they are a board member, a provider, a client. Those menu items should be called out immediately. And as they're going into those menu items, they'll get the forms and the details for what the call to action you want them to take. Maybe that you want them to give feedback. Maybe you want them to fill out like a submission form. Maybe you want them to register for an event or find your blog or register to get on your email list. Those are all super important things to consider when looking at call to actions. Next, we'll talk about navigating the digital landscape with confidence and the tools and knowledge to navigate the digital realm. So you do this by maximizing your visibility and reach. You do that a lot with search engine optimization. I talked a little bit about Google Search Console, and previously it was called Webmaster Tools. There's a lot of search engine strategies out there, and being able to not just rank highly in Google, but making sure Google says what you want it to say. There are a lot of free SEO tools out there. I mentioned if you're on WordPress earlier, there's a great free tool called Yoast SEO. There's a great premium tool that I love as well that I'd be happy to share some links to if you're interested. But things like Yoast, what they do is they go through and you can customize exactly what the content is that Google will post in the search results, what the title will be, what the caption or the meta box underneath is, and if there are any quick links after that. You can tell Google what you want that content to be, and you should, especially for content that's ranking highly. You know if it's ranking highly if it shows up in Google Search Console on page 1. So that's going to be search results 1 through 10. Look at those. And then also compare that to the number of impressions that you'll get in Google Search Console. The number of impressions are the number of times that that search result is being viewed, and the search ranking is obviously like where on the page it shows. So if it's a impression 1, search ranking 1, probably don't need to worry about it a whole lot. But if you're getting hundreds or even thousands of impressions for things that are on that first page of Google, it's super important to search for that term yourself. Make sure that it conveys the message that you want to people who are your personas who are visiting your website. Make sure that they know that they're going to be in the right place when they click on it. You can do this also by staying ahead of the technology adoption curve, keeping up with the advancements in web design, accessibility standards, and user experience trends. These user experience trends change, but the concepts and the philosophies don't really change. A couple of years ago, parallax was all the rage. It's where one image would slide down statically while the next image afterwards kind of rolls underneath dynamically. Then there was a large trend in mobile adoption and making sure everything's on a single page, and now it's just all about rich imagery. and having like a compelling header that draws people in so they know they're in the right spot as soon as they hit your page. A lot of people are starting to do that with video, but you can also do that with having a rich, compelling image as well, and a very brief, concise call to action so people know they're in the right spot. Adapting to changing user preferences, you can really, and that goes into those heat mapping, click mapping tools that I mentioned earlier, where monitoring your website analytics, using data to determine where you need to focus your attention. You can do these things without doing a website redesign. It's a small snippet of JavaScript. Sorry, I said JavaScript. I hope nobody's eyes glazed over. If going on their website, they have a very simple process to walk you through signing up. They would give you a thing to hit copy, send to a developer, myself, or your marketing manager if they're proficient at adding that type of thing on your website. You can be seeing where people are clicking on your website really within 5 minutes, starting to see like what you've invested in. Are people reading it? How do you know? Having that type of tracking on there is super important. If you want to drive people to your blog, it might not be the problem with the blog. It might be that the call to action to get them to the blog isn't compelling enough. So making sure that you're investing in the right things using that data-driven approach. Google Analytics is another great resource for that. It'll tell you how long people are on the page, what pages are viewed, where the entry points are from social media or Google or wherever else, direct links from your email campaigns. Direct email campaigns are important as well, but seeing like what are the inputs, where people are coming from, and Google will also show you the outputs, where are people exiting your site, whether it's a contact form, if they clicked on a phone number, or if they just timed out on your site. Google Analytics won't tell you the full story of what they did on the page. That's where that click mapping technology comes in. And I'm happy to help anybody with the data-driven approach to know where to invest their resources. Navigating the digital landscape it does not have to be complicated, although a lot of websites and blogs tend to make it sound more complicated than it is. It really comes down to the personal needs of an organization and just embracing the technological advancements in support services. Leveraging artificial and virtual reality where you can. I mean, that's not a requirement, but just understanding where the future is headed. There are, within this space particularly, there are individuals who have a higher need for those types of technologies, and depending on the needs of your specific organization, that might be something worth taking a hard look at, whether it's more of an inexpensive Facebook Oculus solution or something a little bit more comprehensive or something maybe even simple with augmented reality. There's a wide spectrum of things, just like there's a wide spectrum of needs, and we'd be happy to help kind of know where along that spectrum that you should be kind of maybe giving a more in-depth look based on the needs of your organization. We'll go through and enhancing those digital experiences for individuals and really exploring those new possibilities for engagement. All right, this part's looking forward to. This is going to be kind of fun. We're going to talk about some specific areas for attention for the Ohio providers specifically. Where are like I mentioned to you at the beginning, workforce challenges, environmental challenges, access to technology challenges. We're going to go through the regulatory landscape and the increasing complexity of needs that are out there. Within workforce challenges, a thoughtful website really moves the needle on being able to address these workforce shortages. Websites can be used to attract and retain employees, whether that's with that login portal for employees to make sure they have all of the resources they need. Having a solid career section that it's not just listing a job posting. I think a lot of websites fall short on that, but really, what are the benefits to joining your organization? Is it really a clear, compelling reason? Is it are the benefits awesome? Are they going to feel more enriched or like more fulfilled? What about your organization separates them from others? Are you wanting somebody who is really is passionate about providing care to a lot of people, or somebody who's maybe more passionate about more of a specific area of need because they had somebody in their family that went through something? So your not job descriptions, but really the career page of your website really should help to cast a vision of what that great experience is going to be when they start working for your organization, and that's going to really bump up the quality and quantity of candidates who are looking for your type of opportunity. There are a lot of great people out there. It's just a matter of making sure that you're separating yourself and they know why you are unique and special, because a lot of providers out there, they do have very similar looking websites and very similar job descriptions, but casting the vision of why your organization is special, maybe the vision and dream of where it came from, maybe casting the roadmap of where you're going. Those things are all really important. Somebody who's going to invest, the probably the best 8 hours of their day with your organization, something that they're passionate about. You want people who are passionate. So providing that online training and support resources that are tailored to develop to disability service providers, and a thoughtful website will also help staff build their skills and increase job satisfaction. Some websites are also starting to invest in learning management systems. A big piece of having employees in the space, as you know, is compliance and making sure that all of the proper trainings are being met. With WordPress, there's a great learning management system that's an easy plugin for it, but there are also other learning management systems as well. And being able to have those great experiences for employees to know what they're doing, why they're taking the training, what's the purpose of it, help them to be champions of your organization to other employees, to help with morale, and also to help with other maybe prospective people who haven't started at your organization yet. I always find that when hiring, the greatest contributors at an organization typically come from referrals. So don't count that out and continue to promote that to your internal staff. And your website is a great platform to be able to do that, and can really serve as that platform for them to share their experiences, provide feedback, and foster the sense of community and engagement. All right, next we've got funding constraints. So everybody has this on their list of things to talk about when I speak with new organizations. And we talked about the big piece at the beginning. It's make sure that the funding goes into an area where there is need, and not just the shotgun approach doesn't typically work as well, but really like laser focused based on data. You may not need to rip everything out. You can probably just focus on a few specific things. You might need to just update your landing page, or maybe it's just your template, depending on what framework you're using. If you're using WordPress and Divi or Elementor seem to be really go-to tools for being able to really quickly and richly extend these websites in an intelligent way. But if you're not using those, there are a lot of other ways to just enrich specific areas of your website without needing to kind of rip everything out. You can also provide transparency around financial management and budgeting. So those are the stakeholders we talked about earlier, and having your website clearly talk about where you are from a funding standpoint. Some people just need to know that you're within a certain percentage threshold of your goal. But having a date on there for when it was last updated is maybe more important. If they see you're 50% to your goal, but the last time it was updated was a week ago, they don't know how quick your organization moves. They might think that maybe a week is all it takes to hit your goal. I know that's not the case for you, but having it maybe update daily or every other day, just so people know that it's something that's so important that you guys are giving the attention to it. And also on those donation pages, having a clear place for somebody to sign up to get on your newsletter. Having that newsletter broken out into personas. It sounds like a lot of work sometimes, but it's so crucial, especially when you start segmenting people who you're just meeting for the first time, your current clients, their families, other providers, and having them all have a kind of either their unique set of content or having a newsletter that caters to all of them, and staying in front of them so they know, they remember that you're there. So they're more willing to make that donation if you're reaching out to them in the way that they want to be reached out to. A super important thing that a lot of people miss is on those contact forms, on those opt-in forms, ask people how often they want to be contacted. Some people, if they get contacted every day, they're going to unsubscribe and you're going to lose that opportunity. But some people don't mind getting contacted every day. They want to be reminded very frequently that you're there. So just make sure you ask people how often they want to be contacted, and don't let the content thing scare you away. I mean, just like on your website, and there's a lot of services out there that create content. It's becoming easier and easier to create that content either for free or inexpensively that is very quality content. And if quality content is a concern, reach out to me. I'll give you some free tools and tell you exactly where to go to get those. Navigating the regulatory landscape in Ohio. So we talk specifically about how we can help stay up to date with specific changes and regulations to those specific to Medicaid or Ohio Department of Developmental Disabilities. When those new regulations come out, they're posting them on their websites, and it's probably not a bad idea if they are public that they should be reposted on your website. If they are private, or maybe they're just for care providers, that they should go into your login area and have those things easily accessible very quickly. That way you're not missing a beat. Just to have like a process to follow through, so where your website is automatically updating or near real time updating that information, so you're not missing a beat, and everybody is staying up to date with the latest changes, policies, procedures, compliance standards. And it goes with the any of those learning management tools that people have to review, as well as you're adding new courses that people have to get certified by to meet the regulatory compliance, that those are on the website and the website is tracking it in a way where it's going to be extremely helpful to them. And of course, we can provide specific links and resources for those as well if that's of interest. Serving as a secure portal for sensitive client information. It's super important to be behind a login area if that's the case, making sure that your passwords are encrypted, your website is using SSL, and that any forms that you're using, that they're HIPAA compliant. We typically recommend using third-party vetted providers for HIPAA compliant information, or we go through every HIPAA situation differently. So if you want to collect that personalizable, either PII, the personalized identifiable information, or the health protected information, there are very specific guidelines, especially in California, that need to be followed for how things are stored in your database. If you were ever to be audited and they dumped your database and found clear text strings that weren't encrypted, that would be a potential red flag for any type of an auditor. So definitely provide guidance there if you have specific questions about regulations or things that you may be collecting, if they are being logged in a form or if they're being emailed. Just be aware that anything that's sent that's unencrypted, that is available to multiple people's eyes, if there was somebody like looking over their shoulder, that there could be compliance issues there. And we're happy to help provide specific guidance there, but we always handle those on a case-by-case basis. Of course, there's solving the increased complexity of needs with digital solutions, and as the needs of clients become more complex, it's crucial to provide them resources that are up to date and informational to help give them a centralized platform so they know what to expect, where to find the resources and tools that they're looking for, be able to provide feedback. If they're unable to find the tool they're looking for, you have your tools page on your website, I'm sure, and on that tools page they don't find their tool, probably I would highly recommend having an additional button, which is a contact form. It's not the generic one, but it's don't see your tool here, tell us what you're looking for, why you need it, if you know anybody who's used it, maybe you want to collect information about specific use cases around it, those types of things, and make sure you're getting that information. Maybe there's a threshold of a certain number of people who request a tool before you would make an investment, but there also might be free options for things that people are requesting. That's a great opportunity to be able to, as people are requesting things, if you find a good option that you can execute on quickly is then update that tools page with that latest item. By the way, we didn't talk about it in the SEO section earlier, but updating your website, whether it's your blog or any of your content, looks really favorable in Google's eyes, and Google will help to rank you higher if you have that quality content. So make sure that the content's being updated. If using feedback forms as a loop back into your website is a great way to keep it up to date as well, so you're not constantly going through and trying to generate things. We kind of talked about the access to technology earlier. There's our Braille keyboard guy again. It's really the lack of access to technology can be a significant barrier to individuals, and having a range of assisted technologies that are accessible, text to speech, closed captioning, those are all really important features for a website. Accessibility features, and there are some free resources as well to make sure your website is accessible. Color blindness is one that often gets overlooked. And there was a few famous court cases over the past several years, and it's an unfortunate increase in cases of people who are being sought after. Usually larger companies, but smaller companies are being targeted too now by litigators who are looking for websites that are not accessibility compliant. There are certain laws about making sure that your website is tabbable by the tab key if somebody can't use a mouse, so they can get to all of the actions. That if somebody's colorblind, that the blues and the reds, that there's enough contrast between all of the different colors in the spectrum. So, and I can provide those tools as well. But making sure that you have the right access to technology. Just because your website's been around for a long time does not make it immune to new regulatory compliance things that have come down the pipe. So making sure that you're regularly checking it on an annual basis, just like when you're doing the other rhythms of your business, that going back and rechecking your website for accessibility, for search engine optimization, for design, for all of the data and analytics that you've been tracking to every year. Just go back and look at the numbers. It doesn't have to take a lot of time, but you really don't have any numbers until you start tracking them. So I always tell people, start tracking those numbers today, so you've got them when you have to go back to them. I'm going to kind of breeze through this really quick, and I'll provide, I said, the slides and the link at the end. But here's some specific use cases for how we help companies specifically with understanding their audience and developing a deep understanding by creating the website that speaks to their needs and preferences, prioritizing accessibility, keeping it simple, using those high quality visuals, and just to reiterate that regularly updating your content as well to keep people coming back. So here's the case studies for those items. They're examples of fictional companies, but basically for this first example is increasing visibility and client referrals through clear messaging and ease to use of online forms, and that's using that call to action button, making sure that you're embedding it in those right spots. Maybe on different blades on the homepage is probably going to need to be included in some of the sub navigation categories, depending on your personas. But making sure that it's clear, it's concise, and those forms are easy to understand as well. Second is the enhanced donor management through our DEF support services, and really increasing fundraising efforts by having compelling storytelling. If you're not good at storytelling, you don't have anybody on staff for storytelling, chatbots, I tell you, they're becoming really good at being able to do that by feeding them the right inputs. And I'm happy to help with providing free resources and free guidance on kind of guiding you through that. And to create that compelling storytelling to increase the fundraising efforts. And sometimes it's just a matter of tweaking a few things that you already have. If you're starting from a blank slate, there's more of a template that you can follow that we can guide you through to help with that as well. Third thing, through our fictional GHI outreach network, is increased community engagement and awareness through a visually appealing and informative website with those regular blog updates. So this is more of an information site. They want to make sure that they're constantly posting those updates so people know what's current in their organization. Are they doing events? Are they involved in the community? Do they have some success stories? And the focus of this particular fictional company is that they want their blog to be the feature. So it's easier sometimes to focus on maybe one or two things. Don't focus on all of these things at once. It can become overwhelming, but just make sure you have a focus. You're able to, then you execute on that focus. Make sure you have a process to keep going with it. And you're going to see tremendous results just for one strategy. Following all 4 of these strategies or some of the other strategies we talked about will only compound your results. And our last, JKL, home healthcare. This example was just some streamlined communication and improved care coordination with a secure online portal for patients and their families. It's a good example. Blossom Hill, who we helped up here in the Cleveland, Ohio area, helped them with their login portal as well, and separating the different personas and roles, making sure that only specific content was available for specific users. And then, of course, you can always extend that and build the community around it, have a closed social network of tying families, tying in your clients, tying in anybody within your closed network who has privileged level of access to your organization. Maybe you want to have the different roles for each one of those. And we could, of course, talk through those if you have specific questions. I've hit on it a few times. It would be... I would want to ignore the artificial intelligence trend that's been in the news a lot. Really, the future is here now, and these chatbots have kind of taken the news, but really it's a lot more than that, where they're able to write original content, whether it's for your stakeholders, whether it's for if you have specific clients who need to hear things from a specific tone or a specific language, or that maybe somebody who's having trouble reading, and they need to hear things in a certain way. Having these chatbots be able to create content in a format that's easy for them to understand based on a specific type of person who is speaking to them. We could say, write me something in an authoritative tone, write me something in a passive tone. There's so many options, and I really am passionate about this topic. And I would really love it if anybody reached out to me with specific questions on how they can better leverage artificial intelligence within their existing processes and tools. Video recognition technology and image recognition technologies also coming a long way. Being able to use your phone for augmented reality, but also being able to just hold your phone up in front of some text and it being able to translate that text into a document without you having to go through extra manual steps of retyping things. All phones do this now. Also scanning QR codes, which I'll actually ask you to do here in a moment. If you're still with me, hopefully you are, and you've been able to get a lot of value out of this presentation. I said I'll include this on my website, but before we get to that link, and unfortunately not being live, I can't ask you questions specifically, but these are some questions that kind of jump out that we get typically from our clients in this industry. But what specific design features and elements should be included on the website to appeal to our target audience? And I would want to take a look at your specific homepage first. And I always recommend getting MouseFlow installed. This is that free heat map tracking tool to find out, are people getting to the information they're looking for, or are they frustrated? So I would start with getting data. If you don't have it already, get that heat map tracking tool installed. If you already have Google Analytics, you can use that. It's not quite as comprehensive, but get that content first. And then I would also ask you a question from this question, which is, what do you want people to do with your website? What is your target audience? And then we would do, before looking at the data, is we would then map the thing you thought that people were doing to the things people were actually doing and see if there's a match. Super easy to do. It just takes a few minutes of time to get that set up. Another question we often get is, how do we ensure our website is accessible to individuals with disabilities? And this is also kind of a tricky question depending on the disabilities that you specifically have or cater to or want to cater to. The ground zero approach to this is making sure your website follows website accessibility guidelines. And there are U.S. and international based standards for website accessibility guidelines, which I'll share with everybody, but also making sure that you are identifying based on the specific needs of individuals. What outside of the baseline standards do you need to cover? Somebody who's using a Braille keyboard or needs augmented reality or text-to-speech services or fonts to be bigger or smaller are going to have different accessibility needs. And I don't recommend adding every disability service into your website. If that typically clutters things up and causes more problems. Instead, what I recommend is making sure that you cover your bases with general accessibility guidelines and then build on top of that with your specific needs of your organization. And then another question I typically get is, how long does it take to build a website? Or how long does it take to fix my website? Because it's typically two very different answers. And we always do it on a case-by-case basis. If we can fix a website, we always do prefer to do that. But there are certain technologies and frameworks and tools that do make updating a website long-term much easier, making it more future-proof or at least future-resistant. Using WordPress and Divi are two very strong tools that we see people are able to update their websites themselves a lot more effectively. And then it also enables us to do more of a custom template builder. So what our process is, we design a website first with a picture. It's just a JPEG or an image of what your website will look like. And that picture then communicates what we're going to be building. After a few iterations of changing out images and changing out some text, we land on what the website should look like. And then we use typically Divi Builder to build that website so it can be extended upon and duplicated later on. So if you want to duplicate landing pages, it's like one click of a button. If you want to edit the content on your homepage in real time, you literally see your website and it turns it into a clickable document that looks exactly like the website, and you click on the word and you type into it, hit save, and you're done. It really is just a few seconds to do that. And these are the time-saving tools that really go back to all of the things around saving time, which goes back into saving money, which helps with budgets, and then of course being able to drive value to everybody who needs to hear your message much faster. So I encourage you to reach out to us if you have specific questions around like how long your website takes. If you're looking for a full website build, once again, it depends on the number of pages. An average website build is typically, when it's a custom job, is typically 2 to 3 months. And that's not usually because of us taking that long to build it. It's usually just that iterative feedback process that it takes to build a website. You want to get everything right, you want the message to be perfect, and everything be crafted in a way that speaks to your target audience. And there's it's back and forth. It's not a ton, but a couple of days will pass and we'll build it, and then we'll wait for feedback for a couple of days, and you see it kind of adds up over time. The fastest we could build a website is we could do it in a little less than a month, but that's more of an edge case. And those are usually more templated websites, the ones that aren't as feature-proof, the ones that are kind of they're built as a square, and the only thing that fits in that square is a square. You can't get a round peg to fit into that square. So when it comes to wanting more advanced features later on, sometimes that'll break those brittle templated websites, but a more dynamic website like Divi or Elementor, and there are others as well, they usually handle, every example I've seen handles those advanced features much more fluidly. But it definitely can help with specific expectations around how long it takes to do a website like that. If you want to learn more, I encourage you to scan this QR code. It will take you to my website where you can download this presentation. My notes for the presentation will still be in the notes. It'll be downloaded in PowerPoint. You can read the notes section for what some of my talking points were. I may have missed one or two doing this in real time. And then with no edits. You can also, we'll put the bonus tips, tricks, and tools on the website as well. And if there's any tools that I missed, because I did do some of the tools were just out of memory as I was talking, make sure you sign up for our newsletter. We won't spam you, we promise. But if you want, we'll follow up with anybody who signs up on our contact form, specifically for conference attendees. We're not going to go into a general bucket, but we are going to personalize that contact form for you. We'll know who you are, and we'll reach out to you specifically with any tools that we may have missed that I spoke to earlier. and I will update this website organically as I get feedback throughout the day and week, and even next week as well. So I really encourage you to reach out. Hopefully you found this presentation extremely valuable, with lots of tips and tricks and tools, and maybe cleared away some of the haziness if this felt overwhelming. And at least you've got a few tools in your tool belt and a little more clarity for how to really build a thoughtful website for your organization. I really appreciate your time. I'm grateful that you sat through it this to the end, and just my goal is I want to add value to you. So please do reach out, stay in touch. Good luck and God bless. Thank you.